In this video, you will learn where does diabetes come from, and therefore you will understand how important it is to catch this process early to prevent its development. The initial phase of the development of insulin resistance is the fat cell. And here's why that matters so much mechanistically. Fat cells have very low demand on glucose on their own. They are not like muscles that burn glucose constantly in large quantities. So when a fat cell becomes insulin resistant, thus is enabled to pull glucose from the bloodstream effectively, it doesn't immediately disrupt blood glucose levels. You can have high insulin, low or just normal glucose, and the problem stays invisible. This is the window when intervention is the most powerful. But almost nobody is really looking for it, because we only check glucose. Rarely we check insulin or hemoglobin A1C, for instance. Once insulin resistance progresses to muscle, that's when the glucose finally starts to climb. Why? Because muscle accounts for roughly 80% of glucose clearance after you eat. If the muscle can't pull glucose efficiently anymore, that glucose stays in circulation. At the same time, the liver, which normally stores glucose when insulin tells it to, becomes insulin resistant in a very particular way. Insulin can still signal liver to produce fat, so lipogenesis continues. But the signal to store glucose as muscle glycogen breaks down. So the liver starts breaking down its glycogen stores and dumping glucose back into the blood. Both of these happening together, muscle refusing glucose and liver spilling glucose. That's when you cross into what we clinically call type 2 diabetes. Inside your pancreas, though, beta cells and alpha cells sit right next to each other. Beta cells make insulin, while alpha cells make glucagon. When everything's working well, insulin suppresses glucagon. But when the alpha cells become insulin resistant, they stop listening. Now you have high glucagon pushing the liver to release even more glucose on top of everything else. Moreover, all of that inevitably leads pancreas to be overwhelmed, leading to a variety of different digestion problems. However, the drivers that push this progression are not only dietary. The primary drivers, other than hyperglycemia, are stress, so chronically elevated cortisol and epinephrine, inflammation in form of pro-inflammatory cytokines that directly influence insulin metabolism, and hyperinsulinemia itself. Hyperinsulinemia is paradoxically one of the main drivers of insulin resistance. The body adapts to too much of a signal by becoming resistant to it. But here's an important part. Diet is the lever that you are in control of most directly. So it's absolutely crucial to stay on top of it. Chronically elevated carbohydrate intake keeps insulin constantly high, which even more accelerates the whole process. Limiting carbohydrates in your diet as much as you can and applying a set of rules to your diet that makes you able to manage it correctly is essential to prevent or even reverse insulin resistance, which is way more common than you think. Moreover, resistance training, as well as developing healthy lifestyle habits, can help you immensely with your metabolic health. You cannot imagine how it literally changes lives. Remember, the timeline varies. Some people take 10, 20 or 30 years to progress from the fat cell stage to clinical diabetes. Others move faster, but the mechanism is the same. Once you understand you've been insulin resistant long before your glucose started to climb, you realize that you have an amazing window to intervene. If only someone tells you. That would be it for today. If you found this video helpful, please drop a like down below and subscribe to my channel to get notified about more good stuff. For now, Thank you so much for watching. My name is Shimon. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next one.